Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling Art with Chris Things.
Ray! Do the hammerlock! I do the hammerlock! Ray! Do the hammerlock, you turkey necks! Yeah, do the hammerlock!
Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back. Episode 18 of Wrestling Art with Chris Things. I am Chris Things Brian, your host this week and every week, and this is our Match of the Week edition. This week being our double header, double feature, spectacular edition, where we have two Match of the Weeks to discuss. Because last week we had our Wrestling Art Curator episode, that lovely chat with IQ Wrestler that I was just so delighted by. If you haven't listened to that one yet, and you were fascinated about the world of wrestling video highlight making and wrestling video art, really, just a really fun chat. But yeah, this week as our Match of the Week special, we have two Bryan Danielson matches to discuss, but two very different and bloody magical in their own right matches, but more about that later. Now we have our what's been going on in the world of Chris Things intro monologue. And last time, I was speaking a bit about the looking back at the original Way of the Blade book, and those highlight illustrations that I've been doing each week. Just got my dog, little Ziggy here, coughing up something, but he looks like he's okay, in case you're worrying. But so we've continued the Way of the Blade highlights. This week I just popped out the amazing Yoshihiro Tajiri versus the King of Old School, Steve Corino, ECW match illustration that Phil picked for the original book. And man, this match from Hardcore Heaven 2000, looking back at it and thinking back over it, just gave me so many waves of beautiful nostalgia. I was like such a ECW maniac from back in the day, which is kind of funny now thinking, especially like these two matches we're talking about today, like being very sort of, scientific, minimalist, beautiful grappling, submission work kind of matches, and then ECW being so much insane shit. But yeah, I don't quite know how to reconcile that, but nonetheless, I loved ECW. I only got into it a little bit late in the piece, for that like sort of 2000 era initially, but then in the years after went back to the proper OG years, and all of the beauty of 1995 and all of that kind of stuff. But man, so much love for both Corino and Tajiri. I think this era, particularly of Tajiri specifically, like, to me, that was the absolute high point of his shit. Just the proper, like, vicious Japanese buzzsaw, like his heel stuff with Corino, and then the final, like, big breakup with Corino. That whole feud was some of the best stuff you'll ever see, and this match was just fantastic. So I highly recommend you checking out that one, and Hardcore Heaven 2000 as a whole. Such a badass show. You get another awesome Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn match. So good. But if you want to check out that illustration from Way of the Blade, you can find that. I just posted that on the old Instagram, but also on christhings.com.au. So if you would like a little old art print of Tajiri kicking the fuck out of Steve Corino's head when he's upside down in the Tree of Woe position, you can do so on that website for as little as 25 bones. But onto the other stuff that I've had going on. Pretty much, I think last time we spoke about moving on after the portfolio stuff, just getting into like more of a creating things kind of mode. You know, I sort of set myself a bit of a challenge to try to like create something every day, and that resulted in me finally getting onto a t-shirt design idea actually that I've had for quite a while. And it got me thinking, like, sometimes there's concepts or ideas that you have for something as like a creative that for whatever reason you kind of put on the back burner, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. And then sometimes, you know, like I was saying with IQ Wrestler, these things can just disappear into the ether. So I think it's great, just get them down on paper, get them out, get some sort of little drawing of it out, and then who knows what it can be. I'll be very interested to see how this one goes. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's basically a shirt idea that's based on a pretty obscure moment, I think, from like WCW Saturday Night, like a interview that probably very few people remember. But it represents something that I think a lot of people think of quite highly. And I think it's a pretty fun visual. So I'll be very interested to see how this one does. We'll see. But keep an eye out. I'll be posting that one in the near future. But I think that's pretty cool. As a completely impartial judge here, but I don't know. We'll see what's up. Other than that, I've been doing commission work. I have again some great clients and that kind of stuff. But editor's note: I just want to clarify here because I felt that was like a little bit dismissive on listening back. I fucking love and adore my clients so much. My existing clients, and they are everything. So please do not think that I'm reducing my appreciation of y'all in any sense. Okay, back to Chris. I think I'm needing to get more commissions, more consistent kind of commission work, to be honest, to kind of get things where they kind of need to be. Between you and me, I kind of made a bit of a promise to, where I'm driving this kind of thing to my partner, that we have to get a certain amount of income coming in each week, and I think commissions are a key part of that. So, yeah, I don't want to get to a place where I'm, really spammy about that kind of thing, have a non-stop, hey, open for commissions kind of thing, but it's a bit of a tricky thing to kind of balance. So I don't know what the answer is, but, I'm going to just keep on making things, and if any of y'all want me to make something for you, if you have, like, an idea for something, like, really weird or even not that weird, but something that you reckon, hey, I think that'd be cool to bring into the real world, then shit, send me a message. Let's do this. Let's bring this to life. Let's make an art out of it, and then you can hang that sucker on your wall. Pick it right out of your brain on the wall. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah. Either way, that's about me for the week. That's your weekly Chris Things update. Now let's chuck over to talk about some bloody incredible American Dragon professional wrestling matches that I greatly loved. All right, over to Chris and Jeremy in the studio to talk about that. Okay, ladies and gents, I have esteemed semi-regular co-host on the show to talk a little Bryan Danielson action and another one of our double main event spectaculars. Welcome to the show, my friend, Mr. Jaims Vanderbeek.
All right. Hey, everybody. I see you over there in the corner. Oh, I see you. Thanks for having me, buddy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm here for the Danielson show, most specifically because we are from the same great state of Washington.
This is true.
It's a beautiful city, or excuse me, state that contains tremendous bearded gentlemen like Bryan Danielson and myself.
Oh, yes, I agree 100%. Can I ask, have you been to Aberdeen?
I have, actually. I didn't stay very long. I was just in it. And it was before I was aware of Bryan Danielson, the professional wrestler. It was more pertaining to, hey, we're driving by Aberdeen. Let's just drive by the city that Kurt Cobain grew up in.
I forgot about that. You'd think of the amount of Nirvana, Kurt Cobain documentaries I've watched back in the day, that would have stuck with me, but it didn't.
That's all right.
What did you make of Aberdeen? What are your lasting impressions that you got out of that place?
It was a town that provides you with no lasting impressions, is what I felt.
just very Pacific Northwesty?
Yeah, just your average Pacific Northwest, smallish town. If you want to not be by the hustle and bustle of the big city, I'd say it's a good place to be.
Yeah, that sounds nice. So on the same have you been there places, I always wondered, you ever been to Twin Peaks?
No, that's like Snoqualmie Falls, I think. I haven't been up there, no.
So that's a bit further up.
I went to the actual falls themselves, yes, one time, but I haven't explored Snoqualmie, the city, no. The falls are gorgeous, though. You get all sorts of moist out there. It's a lot of water, is what I'm saying.
You get all sorts of moist.
Yeah. It's the whole, because of the gigantic waterfall, the entire environment is just filled with mist because of this waterfall. So no matter what you do, you're going to get a little drippage on you.
That sounds beautiful. I would love to go to that place.
Oh, it's delightful.
I mean, I'm assuming it's a better level of the mist giving humidity than what we have over here. I mean, I guess you're not really familiar with the awful Brisbane, Queensland humidity that we suffer through.
No, the most humid environment I've ever been to was Florida when I went down once for. It wasn't a wrestling thing. I think I just went for a trip to see some friends. But yeah, as soon as I got out of the airport, it was like I am drinking this air. It's not being breathed in. It's coming in thick.
I've heard a lot of friends draw a lot of comparisons between the two places, and it makes me never want to go to Florida ever.
Yeah, it was Orlando to be specific. It was nasty.
Ugh, yuck. Well, I do not like humidity. That's why I would love to make it up your way sometime in the near future. But how's your week been since we last caught up with you, my friend?
Been pretty decent. Had a recent SOS show that went pretty great. The aforementioned half man, half shark is now our new champion. So that's pretty exciting turn of events there. See, the thing is, on the island, we have a special prize that you can win in a match called the Golden Wilson. And it's an island themed show. So I'll let you guess what the Golden Wilson is.
Golden version of the neighbor from Home Improvement.
No, friend, you're so funny. It's the castaway friend of Tom Hanks, the volleyball Wilson. So we have a golden one of those that somebody wins. And the previous show, our Shark Man attacked the owner of the Golden Wilson, Casey Rasselhoff, and took it away from him. And then he showed up on this most recent show and cashed it in to get his chance at the SOS Championship. And Chris, the crazy thing that was going on is there was already a match in progress for the title. So he inserted himself into this match and he won. Kind of like a Seth Rollins in WrestleMania kind of situation.
I see.
But now we're all like, oh man, what's going on? The Sharkman's champion, Casey Rasselhoff, never lost his Golden Wilson. The other two people who were in the match kind of got screwed over. What happens next? Well, I'll tell you what happens next, Chris. We've got a 4-way match for the title, which includes both of the people who were in the previous match. Carl Randers, our previous champion, and Malcolm Flex, another previous champion, against Casey Rasselhoff, the man who never lost his opportunity at this match, and then also our new champion, Derek Jaws. It's crazy, man. My life's been real hectic.
Hot diggity dog.
Dang, dude. And then I also watched Iron Claw last night.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Hang on, but before we move on to that, might I say those are some tremendous professional wrestling names there in the main event scene of SOS.
The Beachmaster, Carl Randers. It's so good. And then Malcolm Flex. Yeah, he's awesome. He was the previous champion who actually went to study at New Japan. So he had to relinquish his title, unfortunately. And so he's back facing off, looking to get his title back. And this 4-way match is going to be happening next month. And I'm pretty excited.
That is tremendous. Well,
IWTV, if you ever want to watch, you want to IWTV.
Tune in. And if you do, tell them that you came from Wrestling Art with Chris Things.
I don't know how you will broadcast that you showed up because of that, but hey, make yourself known.
Yeah, I'm just angling for a free subscription. That's all I'm doing.
Oh, there you go.
So you saw the Iron Claw. We were talking last time. We talked a lot of World Class and Von Erichs when we spoke about that tremendous Terry Gordy Kerry Von Erich match. So now you've seen the movie. The thoughts, my friend. What did you think?
Here it comes. First off, the match that we watched, I believe they actually shot a scene in the movie where Kerry was wearing that same jacket that he wore out after his brother died. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. But okay, I'll start from the beginning.
Quite a famous jacket.
Yep. I just love how they incorporated it in the movie. They were smart enough to do that. I loved how it started off in black and white, kind of, setting the tone of like, what the heck is this? And then the reveal that this is about a family, not this crazy madman who's murdering somebody in a wrestling room. So I really like that. I really like how it did treat wrestling with a reverence. It wasn't like ever painted as comedy that they were doing this or taking part in this. So that was cool.
And I thought they treated the whole scene and World Class in general with quite a lot of reverence as well. And I wanted give a special shout out to whoever was in charge of set design and costuming and all of that kind of stuff. There were so many little things that they got so darn right. Right down to the whole kit out of and recreation of like the sportatorium. I thought that was absolutely tremendous, especially from having watched a bit of it. I just it's sort of there are obviously a lot of things they changed, but at least visually and feel wise, I thought they were pretty on the money there.
Yeah, for sure. The feel was definitely there. Gorgeous, beautiful picture. It was way better than I ever thought it could be when I first heard about the project, because I just assumed, it's a wrestling story. I know it's a really sad one, but it might be treated terribly, but it wasn't.
I got the exact same thing, actually. I was going in with like kind of scary expectations. Like initially I heard not so good things.
I'm a fan of Zac Efron, but I couldn't imagine him playing Kevin Von Erich. It's just felt so weird.
It's like he's not weird looking enough, if that makes sense.
yeah, there you go. He is too handsome to play this ugly man, as Chris was saying.
Kevin was a good looking dude, but just a slightly weird good looking dude, and that was the Von Erich charm, I feel.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was the unconventional handsome.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't care for is the pacing felt weird. It just seemed like they were just getting to the next sad part with not much filler in between. And almost just like, all right, we're going to leap to the next depressing moment. We're going to leap to the next depressing moment. And sometimes it felt unnatural. But what I
Interesting.
really loved about the movie was how it was kind of like a a a romance movie, but between brothers. Like these guys fucking loved each other so much, it was ridiculous.
Mm.
There was a particular scene where they're all like hanging out with a bunch of people on a river,
That was
and
so
the three
heartwarming.
brothers are over hanging out just with each other, who they spend all their time with, and there's all these other people just sitting there partying. These guys aren't paying attention to anybody but their brothers. They loved being with their fucking brothers. It was rad.
I love that so much.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, when they at the end of the movie, when they came back to that same dock, you know what
Mm.
I mean? Where uh I guess it was supposed to signify heaven. Spoiler alert. Um, but yeah, that's when I actually started. That's the scene that got me kind of sad.
Mm.
Not all the real life death that I knew about. The sad part was this imaginary heaven scene that they created, where Carrie Von Erich got to say hello to his older brother, who was a small child.
I actually, that it was funny. I had the opposite. I like got to that bit and I was actually really sort of like happy and like smiling at that part. Like, because it was obviously that sort of followed a heck of a lot of heavy, sad kind of stuff. So you're sort of like, oh, they're all in heaven together.
Well, yeah, that's what it was a tear of joy. It made me
Yeah, yeah,
sad
nice.
because, yeah, it was kind of beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I just felt like I said earlier, the pacing, like all of a sudden, like, oh shit, it's a sad moment again. And I know the story is sad, but there didn't seem to be a lot of extra stuff in there to like fill out who they were um much. But hey, that's all right. It's a good movie. And they had only so much time. They had to get in a lot of death into this 2 hours.
And they didn't even have enough room for all of the death.
Exactly. Man, that was crazy. And yeah, it was just like all of a sudden it was sudden. Like all of a sudden here we got Chris killing himself with the pills. Like you could tell he was depressed, but it was just like the next scene he's eating pills. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then
You
the
mean
next scene,
you mean Mike?
oh yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, Mike. Not the brother who was eliminated. But yeah, when Mike was eating the pills, just all of a sudden, all right, now he's eating pills. Oh my, oh my goodness. And then he runs off into the woods. That's a terrible way to kill yourself, and you leave your families looking for your body. Like, come on.
I've gone sort of around like back and forth on this movie a little bit. My only main criticism, I think, is the runtime was too short, so they didn't get to flesh out some of the more interesting stuff. I don't know, I think I mentioned it last time of like I would have liked to see a bit more of like Kerry's story, and him dealing with the rigors of finally achieving his dad's dream and winning the world title, only to like lose it like a couple of weeks later. And then the going on the road, and obviously when the territory sort of fell apart, and then they ended up selling to Jerry Jarrett, and then Kerry eventually going to WWF for a pretty shitty run. I mean, there's only so much you can do, obviously, and then it also like the whole stuff of like, I thought there was so much interesting shit they could have done with like Gino's story.
Yeah.
And I think that also played a key part. I don't think they necessarily caught the idea of like, they definitely gave it the idea that like this family and these brothers were just revered as like what we were saying about last time on the show of like that Beatles level kind of love, but it's almost like they gave the impression that the town sort of like turned on them and stopped caring as soon as like David died. And then they had this scene where there was like fucking probably barely any people in the sportatorium, when in reality that the city of Dallas sort of being like, we don't want to really come anymore, and this is kind of grossing us out. It was a bit more of a long form kind of thing, and especially the thing with the whole bullshit of the Lance Von Erich.
Yeah, I was about to say that was actually an awesome scene in the movie when Lance was out there wrestling and Kevin's sitting on their apron trying to tag in, and it was like, as far as the scene looked like, it broke down as Kevin was supposed to get back in the match, but Lance took it upon himself to finish the match out, and Kevin's just looking at you like, What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it was like this motherfucker.
I just found that so funny. Like, he went against the script and he was a fake Von Erich brother. Yeah, nice. It was hilarious seeing that being MJF though. I was like, oh, fucking MJF, right on.
I mean, it was kind of funny that, yeah, I imagine they probably filmed a bunch of stuff where they did show that sort of, the part of them
fake brother.
Yeah,
you're gonna play a Von Erich,
and then Fritz ousting him publicly after he like quit, and then basically him revealing that he'd like lied to the whole. All of the town and all the brothers were playing along, and I think that was reality more part of the reason for the the city kind of like turning on them and them losing that goodwill.
Yeah, that's hilarious. The family like loved the town loved the family so much. Like, you tried to pass off a fake Von Erich that make us love him too. How dare you?
But I mean, overall, I think all of these complaints are it's like there's only so much you can do, and the one thing I think they did really well was like they made it palatable for people that don't really know this story, non-wrestling fans kind of thing, in a way that I don't think it like betrayed the actual real story. Like, I think the real story, and if this movie, the main thing of this movie to me at least was like it's the story of Kevin enduring all of this awful fucking shit, and then making a decision that he's not going to let it continue on to the next generation. And I thought that was really touching and really well done. So overall, I think it's great. If any of y'all out there watch this and then wanting to find out more, I absolutely highly recommend that the fantastic documentary Heroes of World Class. I think that does like a far better job of getting into the intricacies of it. And they've given a lot more like real life details, so I think that's an absolutely fantastic watch. Has Gary Hart, I think he was still around when they filmed that, and he was absolutely incredible for it. But yeah, it's overall I think it was a fine film. Maybe not quite to the level of the Wrestler for me, but probably one of the better professional wrestling films ever made.
I have to agree with that. One thing that made me laugh was Fritz had to take a moment to take a stab at the Ultimate Warrior for just a moment. Because like, your old partner Hellwick, he even got an opportunity. Like, he's taking a fucking swing at Ultimate Warrior. That's
old
hilarious.
Dingo. Oh, special shout out to I can't remember the actor's name, but whoever the dude that played Harley was like so fucking on the money, dude.
Yeah, like even though he didn't necessarily look directly, the attitude was like spot on. The way he carried himself was like totally Harley.
His promo so good.
Exactly. He just needed a little bit more fro. That's all. Just a tiny bit more fro, and he would have been good.
Tremendous stuff, man. Man, all right. So we got to get this show on the road. We got 2 matches to talk about here. Our double header. So this originally, you'd think, and you'd be like, Chris, this is meant to be a variety kind of show. Last time we had a fucking Joshi match and a world-class match. Now we've just got fucking 3 Bryan Danielson matches in a row. What's going on? I would say that in no way was planned, and it just ended up legit. There were the 3 things that I watched that are just incredible, and if anything, it's a testament to this like absolutely insane run that Danielson is on at the moment. Like, I cannot remember any wrestler that's said, hey guys, I'm gonna wind this down. I think my days as an active wrestler are nearing their end, and then just goes on to have like be basically wrestler of the year and just have some of the most impressive performances you ever did see, just week after week after week. It's insane.
He's the only man who has ever came close to knocking Eddie Guerrero out of my top wrestler spot. Like, he's just so good. He probably is my favorite wrestler. I just have so much nostalgia love for Eddie, but yeah, Bryan Danielson is fucking incredible, and he's only gotten better. And one of these matches we discussed, I think, might be the greatest match I've seen in my entire life.
If it's the one I'm thinking that you're thinking of, that was definitely on rewatch my match of the year right now.
Fucking A, dude.
At the very least, but yeah, probably more. Incredible.
Yeah, I never keep any sort of running match of the year, but I'd be hard pressed to say anyone beats that Zack Sabre and Bryan Danielson match. I almost said Daniel Bryan. Damn you, WWE, for conditioning me and my muscle memory.
Man, I think this is also one of the cool things here is like, look, we do have 2 American Dragon matches week after week, including the Nagata one the other week, 3 week after week. But if you look at those 3 matches, or even just look at these 2 matches, so much variety in them. So completely different, so the opposite of, a lot of the time we see a lot of guys who it's just like, yep, I have the exact same match formula, I have the exact same comeback, I have the exact same fucking 3 moves of doom, whatever the fuck. This is... I cannot think of anyone that could have 3 such amazing matches, but 3 totally different matches as well.
Yeah, 100%. He is so well-rounded, and I mean, I can't think of anybody where he couldn't pull an amazing match out of them as well. Like, you could have a match of the week with Bryan Danielson with pretty much anybody on any roster at any time. You know what I mean? It's wild.
I mean, he's definitely got that, like, Ric Flair in the 80s kind of thing where he could have a great match with a broomstick. But, I mean, I think these 3 were so good because the opponents were so good, and he made it about them, I guess. Like, he worked to their strengths, and each one was, like, such a showcase of how great the other guy is. I mean, I guess, when we get talking a bit more about the Zack Sabre Jr. match, I'd say that felt more just like equals, just, trying to one-up one another kind of thing. But the fact that we do have 2 Danielson matches here, I think there's still a whole bunch of variety, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I wasn't terribly familiar with Hechicero. I think I've seen him, maybe some clips, but I love that Yave style. It's so cool and wild and crazy. It's just so interesting, and sometimes people think it's like a lot of wasted effort on some things in lucha, but this is none of that. You know what I mean? It's just rad. Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I think my original introduction to like Lucha Libre was probably through a lot of like the WCW cruiserweight kind of stuff, which
100%.
Is or was fucking incredible. There's no saying that wasn't like amazing shit, and like getting to see the absolute best of like Ray and Hoovy and Psychosis and
stole the show nearly every Monday.
Yeah,
so undeniable.
And working with absolute masters like Dean Malenko, or like you get to see like Regal working with like fucking luchadors and Parker and like all those. I have so much love for that. But there's
they had so many luchadors that some of the guys who were great still got underappreciated, like Silver King. People kind of treated like a joke, but he was tremendous. Super Calo, people kind of treated as a joke, but he was fucking tremendous.
Dude, Silver King, there's a match with him and Eddie, like a singles match. I can't remember whether it was from like WCW Saturday Night or Thunder or something. I think this match only got like 6 or 7 minutes.
Worldwide?
Maybe, perhaps. Let's just go through all of them. Maybe WCW Pro.
It's my autistic need to list things, apparently.
You and me both, brother. But like, this was just probably if you're not going to count that fucking Kenta Ricky Marvin match, like probably one of the greatest short matches of all time. Just masterful shit. But yeah, I guess the reason I was like bringing up that WCW stuff is because it sort of conditioned me, and I think to an extent a lot of people, of thinking like Lucha Libre is about the crazy high spots and these like athletic feats of craziness, and just this like beautiful sort of high flying, fast paced style. When there's a lot of varieties of lucha libre out there, even getting to more of like your bloody brawl kind of like style, which is like its own kind of magic. But then getting to the Yave style, like you're saying, I think that for sure has become my all-time favorite style of Mexican wrestling. Of like those masters like your Skida, like your Negro Navarro, your Solar, I think that's what's so cool now about seeing a dude like Hechicero, and like especially him being in such a spotlight position as this, to where I think a lot of American wrestling fans are probably seeing him for the first time. I think it's really cool maybe that style is getting a bit more pub these days.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, that's I was fortunate to see Daniel Macabe and Negro Navarro wrestle.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Yeah, fucking A, dude. Yeah, he's tremendous. He's an old looking guy at this point, but he's so grizzled and badass looking. He looks like a final boss you would find at a wrestling movie. Like all of a sudden your character has to fight Negro Navarro to survive. And you won't.
He can still go, man. Like he's the definition of the kind of guy where, what's the saying? Like he's forgotten more moves than most guys will ever know.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
For sure.
Just absolutely tremendous. And anytime you get to see him against dudes like Satanico or I guess his career rival Solar, and it's like almost more of like a exhibition showcase kind of thing, but it's so cool. And definitely want to put over his sons, Los Traumas, absolutely fantastic wrestlers as well.
I was unaware. That's right.
Yeah, but back to Rey Hechicero. So I think I was so excited from when I first heard this match announced, because of part of it being like, okay, this is just like Danielson getting to wrestle all the people he's always wanted to wrestle kind of thing.
Sting made the special request to get Ric Flair on the show, and Bryan Danielson is requesting just to wrestle all the rad dudes he knows he can go with.
Yeah, so good. Just like a weird wrestling nerd dream match. I love it.
And one thing that happened when this match was announced is a lot of people are like, "Rad, I don't know who this guy is, and I'm excited to see what happens." But there's a whole other group that's like, "I don't know who this is. Why is Tony Khan keep bringing these people who I have no idea onto his show and not telling me who they are ahead of time?" It's like,
dude, where did these weird angry people come from? Like, why are you so annoyed that you're getting an awesome wrestling match? Oh man,
I can understand wanting to know more information, but you don't need to always have this spoon fed to you. WWE doesn't, and they compare it to WWE where a lot of times there's vignettes to introduce guys weeks ahead of time. But this is a different type of show. This is like a wrestling showcase. They bring in interesting wrestlers to pair up with guys you already know that are great. So you should be at least expecting a great match, and rely on not only the announcers to give you information on these gentlemen, but the wrestlers themselves tell stories in the ring. That's what it is. It's a visual storytelling platform.
Yes.
Fucking weirdos.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started on that bullshit of the where's the story? Why am I meant to care about this match? Like, you care about this match because it's awesome, and there's two guys that are the best in the world in the conversation for best in the world, and they're trying to win the match, and they're trying to beat one another.
The story. That is the story. It is a wrestling match where two people want to win at the end. There's more story to it, sure, but that's the story. It's all self-contained. You guys are crazy.
And also this one, in addition to that, had the whole like this big
CMLL.
BCC versus CMLL feud going on. So what more do you need?
You fucking weirdos.
Weird, angry people.
And all this Hechicero, look at this fucking guy. How cool does this guy look? He's jacked. He's got a fucking crazy mask. they call him a wizard or something. And I saw this awesome meme where it goes,
Oh, I think I know the one you're going to talk
the one your girl has big titties and is a wizard. That's not your girl. It's Hechicero. I was like, oh my God, that's so good.
That is one of my favorite things I ever saw. As soon as I saw
Agreed.
that. Oh my god.
Sometimes, I make plenty of memes, but every once in a while I'll see one. I'm like, fuck, I wish I had made that. That is so funny. Bit of jealousy, I suppose.
Oh man, but what a cool looking motherfucker. Like, might I say, from that entrance onwards, or is that doing the fucking flame balls, like, this whole gimmick, I think, is just ready made for, like, he comes out, people don't know who this guy is, except they're like, I am already intrigued and really wanting to know more.
Exactly. And then, like, I don't know what's going on with his eyes, if he's like if it's on his eyelids where there's paint or underneath his eyes to make it look like his eyes are glowing the entire match, but it's fucking cool.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of this comes from, CMLL, a big part of their, success is targeting.
Presentation?
Well, yeah, and absolutely, but like targeting for tourists, they have their hardcores that are really loyal and go every single Friday night to Arena Mexico. But I'd say a large chunk of their people that come are people who are on holiday coming over into Mexico City, and they're like, fuck, I don't really know what wrestling is, but my tour guide said you have to go to Arena Mexico, so I'm here and I'm chugging a heck of a load of beers and drinking a whole bunch of tourist margaritas, and whatever the fuck this is great. Who the fuck is this wizard man with fireballs? I love it.
Like, how can you not like a man who throws fireballs? Ever since Mario, we all agreed that throwing fireballs is cool.
So good. So yeah, I think the big thing here is I was just so stoked because I've been a fan of Hechicero's for quite a while, but I was just so stoked for everyone else to get to enjoy him. I think I thought this was going to happen a while ago. Do you remember there was a PWG show going back, I think pre-COVID, at the Globe, where they ran Hechicero versus Zack Sabre Jr.?
I just recently heard about it because when I mentioned somebody I wasn't too familiar with Hechicero, they said they brought him in to PWG for a show. I'm like, oh, well, fucking A, I missed that one.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen that match. I sort of...
Sounds like it'd be incredible. I mean, PWG and those two fuckers, it's got to be outstanding.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. I'll have to get back into watching my old PWG. I kind of never really got caught up after the COVID everything kind of happening.
Yeah, there's so much wrestling, man, and unless you plan on pirating all that stuff, it's expensive to follow PWG.
I mean, if you're happy to watch it on is it 6 month or a year delay? Where if you watch it on High Spots,
High Spots, yeah, I guess that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. During COVID, then you get stacked up, and it's like, how much wrestling can I watch to just catch up?
Yeah, it's a weird thing for us wrestling nerds, where you want to watch all of the cool things. It's only so many hours in a day, man. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, I rarely catch Dynamite or Collision because I'm just trying to do other things than to watch wrestling. And I know I end up watching shitty Monday Night Raw every week, but that's because it's more funny. It's fun to make fun of. The other wrestling is good. Okay, that was an awesome match, and I've seen a lot of awesome matches. You know what I mean?
I do. I think I pick and choose these days a lot. I watch. I just got caught up on a bit of AEW myself, actually. So I'm in more of a thing of a grab bag of just watching what is kind of appealing to me. And I think AEW is fantastic for that these days, because there's some batshit insane matches where you see that on paper and you're like, man, I want to watch that. I don't necessarily want to watch the Acclaimed, but I want to watch that match.
The Acclaimed, man. Were you not aware everybody loves the Acclaimed?
I am not sure if that is 100% true, my friend.
Well, all right. Prove me wrong.
This has gone down a weird road. But back onto the match. I loved that how selfless Danielson was in this. I remember I saw I think even Brian Alvarez, and I love Brian Alvarez. Don't get me wrong, but I think he was complaining that he thought Danielson gave Hechicero too much, which I completely. I mean, I'm probably not the most, fuck, I forgot this word again. Happened last time.
I wish I could help.
The most impartial. There you go. I'm there in the end. I'm not the most impartial dude because, again, I'll just sing Hechicero's praises till the cows come home. But I think you need to do something to get someone over, for the crowd to take them seriously. And I thought they played this perfectly. I thought the balance of it was absolutely great.
Yeah, they're bringing him in to face one of the most tested and badass wrestlers in their company, and you expect him to just get stomped and come off credible? No. Yeah, it was awesome. I love the balance. Right from the beginning, for people who aren't familiar with him, like Hechicero immediately shows, okay, this is a totally different grappling style that I'm used to even watching. When he approached Bryan Danielson backwards with his almost backward, just sideways with his wrist kind of bent upside down. I'm like, what the hell? Almost like, hey, go for this arm because I know my other arm's behind my back, but that's the one I'm going to grab you with. It's just a sleek approach, and also it makes sense for Bryan Danielson to not be so successful in this match because he's not familiar with this wrestling style on a weekly basis. It coming out of left field. I mean, exactly. Sure, he's aware, but weekly he's doing the American style, kind of Japanese influence. But you know what I mean? Like he's not doing this crazy Yave.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of that thing where Danielson's obviously very confident in his abilities. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go toe to toe, and I'm gonna get my Yave on. And obviously, someone who's not wrestling that every week of the year is not going to be as good as like one of the absolute masters of it. So I think it's plenty credible.
Plus, it also tells the story that I think we've all kind of familiar with Bryan Danielson having this ego where he thinks he's the best, and he may have underestimated this gentleman a little bit, and that's why he was able to get so much offense. Like there was a really cool spot where earlier in the match where Hechicero got Bryan's back and he kind of dropped to his back himself on the mat and extended his left leg in between his legs and then rolled backwards and captured Bryan and got Bryan to his back. Like the look on Bryan's face, I was like, oh shit, I was not expecting that out of nowhere.
So
but yeah, that kind of cool shit it's tremendous. Like I had to rewind it back. I mean, how did he even do that?
There's so much stuff that I loved. So I was just thinking, like, man, there's so much that I think, again, like 90% of wrestling fans would watch this and it's just this. I've never seen that before. I've never seen this before.
Yeah,
I've never seen this roll through weird ass like backwards counter to and it's just so refreshing and so much fun at the end of the day.
Hell yeah. Commentary was cracking me up, especially Nigel is forever being a hater on Bryan Danielson. Kept on talking shit, and he's like, oh, there he goes. He's phoning it in. And he goes, what are you talking about? SOS, same old shit when he was going for the surfboard. I'm like, oh, that cracked me the fuck up. And then right after that, even funnier, classic Nigel, when Hechicero put the surfboard on, he's putting him over, saying how amazing he is for using this move.
How that was like such a classic nod to like your like a Bobby Heenan kind of thing. I love that so much.
Yeah, it was real good. Another funny part when Hechicero has that sweet like it's like a flying head scissors, but he like goes to the mat. He doesn't spin out to his feet, so it's like a guillotine leg drop is what they called it on the show.
Oh, so cool.
It's such a cool move, but my favorite part is Tony goes, I thought he was going for a T. Harris.
I mean, sort of looked like he was, I guess.
No, I just think it's funny, Tony incorporating these words that he's never used before in his life. He's like, I now know that's a T. Harris, so I'm going to say
it. That's like heartwarming for me because like there's so much from like watching a lot of, especially like early days AEW, where it was obviously to a degree some of these like modern moves and especially like lucha kind of stuff. You know, back in the day, that was the Professor Mike Tenay's wheelhouse. You know, Tony Schiavone was not responsible for this. So he was
lay out tone, let Mike work.
I'm not bothering learning this. But then the magic of AEW was almost like Tony was like, you know what? I'm reinvigorated. I'm wanting to learn, and it was almost like Excalibur kind of like bringing Tony up to scruff kind of thing. And I just thought it's heartwarming, and it's like it's stayed with him, you know.
Hell yeah. The best part is when that first was going on, it was when Jim Ross was on commentary, and Jim Ross would hear Excalibur say one of these crazy words, and JR would repeat it to Tony. Like, he goes, T. Harris, Tony. And Tony like, yeah.
Dude, yeah. I miss that dynamic so much. That like whole interplay between the three of them was honestly like I think some of my favorite commentary I ever heard.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Don't get me wrong. JR got grating, but at the same time was never not hilarious.
I always pop for it, man. There's not a moment for me where it was grating. I was just like, this fish out of water thing just never gets old. I love it so much.
Yeah, Tony and Taz now, they bicker quite a bit, but it's gotten better. It used to be on some shows where they can these guys stop jawing at each other? Mm-hmm. But back to this. Nigel was tremendous. So funny the entire time. There was even a one point later in the match where like he even begrudgingly had to put Bryan Danielson over. Damn it. WWE. I honestly don't do that on the regular, but WWE has fucked me up for life.
Just next time you say Daniel, just follow it up with son.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Speaking of that, that's what Jim Ross used to do all the time. I would give him a hard time, and now I'm doing it every other fucking minute. My apologies, Jim Ross.
It happens to the best of us, dude.
Yeah. Another crazy spot I wanted to put over is Hechicero does this. He goes for the Casadora and kind of does a inverted monkey flip to flip Bryan Danielson over to get him into a rear naked choke. I mean, that's the best stuff about Yave. Like they incorporate the crazy lucha stuff to work a dude into an awesome submission. So it's just so beautiful and poetic.
Yeah, just so fresh and like, you know, there's something about like a monkey flip that it's like what's old is new. Every time I see like a well done monkey flip in wrestling, it's like I'm so much more impressed than watching like the nuttiest, you know, Canadian destroyer fucking whatever kind of like athletic shit. I just love a good monkey flip, you know?
Yeah, because the best thing about it is you know that shit is legit. That person is sure they're working together, but that guy just used all that guy's body weight to flip him around onto his fucking face.
Heck tremendous. Yeah, man! I remember learning to do a monkey flip in judo class back in the day. That shit is legit.
It looks crazy, and it also is somewhat funny looking. So it gives you that appeal as well. Yeah, I am a monkey flip fan.
Absolutely. We need someone to do like a monkey flip variation finish. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Monkey flip enthusiast t-shirts so we can wear it to shows. You're like, what does that even mean? You know what it means.
Oh, that'd be pretty sick on the sort of like the what's that Japanese wrestling brand, Hao Ming. Did you see they did like a range of sort of like animals wrestling, like with sort of the like the name of the move kind of motif that's like animal themed. So they had one with various ones with cats and different things. I think there might have been even an octopus doing an octopus stretch or something. But that's a no-brainer.
I may have seen that.
Begging for one with an actual monkey doing a monkey flip.
Actually, would we be doing it to another monkey? I mean, Would there have to be a double monkey situation?
Ooh, I don't know.
Okay, this got weird again.
Yeah.
So another cool move that Hechicero does that I've never seen anybody do is where he runs at the guy, grabs them, and jumps over the top rope to kind of pin them against the top rope so he can swing around, land on the apron, and get him in a choke. Fucking cool and seamless. How rad was that?
Clever shit. It's just like
Holy
creating offense in places that you wouldn't expect offense to be. I think that's so cool.
Indeed.
One of my the coolest things that originally first caught my eye that I remember seeing Hechicero do, and I remember just thinking, I'm instantly a fan of this gentleman, and he did it in this match, is that amazing swinging backbreaker. Just one of the bloody coolest moves, and I still have no idea how he actually gets the momentum to actually pull it off.
Well, he's a tremendous wizard. I mean...
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. When all else fails, say the reason he can do it. Magic. Yeah, the little... I'm trying to read my notes. I have so much notes for the next match, almost to a point where I don't think we can go through them all.
I'm the same.
There was so much stuff, but the other match was just... I was enjoying it.
I remember also really being impressed with all of Hechicero's rad step-up knees in the corner. Just
that was
snappy
nasty
and great. Like
very sudden.
You'd think for a dude that's primarily, the Yahweh submission kind of work, he would not be as good in that sort of flashy, snappy kind of stuff, but he bridges the gap. He can do it all.
Damn right. The part where I was talking about where Nigel reluctantly put over Danielson was, I think he had the bell lock on, and Nigel was like, "It's a beautiful lock," and then Hechicero starts to get free, and Kevin Kelly said in like the snottiest little kid, "No, it's not." Did you hear that? It was so whiny. Oh my god! I had to rewind it because it cracked me up. He's like, "No, it's not. No, it's not."
I love
Kevin Kelly. He's been doing this for so long, but he sounds so young still.
Yeah, it's almost got that like annoying, high-pitched nerd kind of voice.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think in general, I just thought this match was so perfect for what it should have been. And there was a bit that I think there's almost like you could see Danielson having to sort of change gears a little bit, especially through maybe the midsection of the match to kind of like accommodate Hechicero's kind of stuff, because it's probably, I think, a lot of the pacing and tempo and like those little timing kind of things are probably quite different from what Danielson is used to. So I think I saw some people denigrating the match of making out that like it was a bit sort of like rough or loose at certain spots or whatever, but I don't have a problem with any of that kind of thing. I thought it was just such a great meeting of different styles, and I think obviously it introduced Hechicero in such a great way to a whole bunch of new fans, and again just showed how great Danielson is at leaning into that and being like, hey, I'm gonna do the best bloody showcase that we possibly can for this dude, and then it's smart because it gets him over in the end. Because he beat this amazing, Yahweh wizard rather than just beating some schmuck that he, destroyed in 5 minutes.
Yeah, though some fans apparently didn't know enough about this man to care, I felt the match had me invested, and I am a big Hechicero fan now at this point. One thing I did notice, I don't know if you caught this, but it looked like the referee almost screwed the finish up. He almost counted a 3 count.
Referee is terrible.
He almost counted a 3 count on one thing, and then he stopped because they weren't actually in it.
Weren't even
they weren't even pinned. They weren't even pinned. He just knew that there was some lock up, or they're going to both get locked up and roll into a pinfall. And unfortunately, he jumped ahead, knowing it was some. I imagine that they were potentially heated. Like, you almost fucked us, dude. We had this awesome match going on, and you almost fucked it.
I noticed that more on my second rewatch of the match, but yeah, I don't know where the fuck AEW gets these referees from, but I mean, no one's infallible. Everyone has their moments, but I don't know, man.
I also want to put over that crazy dancing, like spitting backbreaker thing that Hechicero did. It was like it looked like he was doing a waltz with him for a moment, then spun him around onto his back like so.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. That spinning backbreaker, dude. So cool.
Yeah, the reason I didn't remember is because I noted it as dancing. Because it was almost like a backbreaker. He was dancing, so it was about a dance. Do you mind if I hit this bong and you talk for a second?
Yeah, go for it, my dude. So yeah, a tremendous match, and I was just, I think, so happy as well, because again, similar to what I was saying, last week when I was putting over the Nagata Danielson match, I think this was so great, because again, a whole bunch of fans probably not very familiar at all with Hechicero, who are now got so into this match and were just going bananas by the end of it, and I'd say now potentially big time Hechicero fans. And if you might be in that boat, if you might be one of these recently converted Ray Hechicero fans, well, I would highly recommend checking out more of his CMLL work. A particular match of note that I really enjoyed was from the 2022 Grand Prix show that featured just a wonderful match between Hechicero and Euphoria. That again, if you like this Yave style of wrestling of two just awesome, submission funky wrestling,
and why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. How could you not enjoy this? If you dig that, if you dig this, I think you'll really enjoy that one. And that show also happens to have a actual Grand Prix Cybernetico match that is just one of the greatest big multi-man elimination kind of matches that you ever did see.
And how crazy is that Yuji Nagata is still fucking wrestling? Like, he
love it, man.
In the video game, the WCW game back in the day, man. Like, I know how awesome he is now because I've seen later stuff, but the way they treated him on WCW is almost like Sonny Ono's goofy heater from Japan. Like, it wasn't treated too seriously, I guess. But I guess he was always a total badass, and I was unaware. A lot of those guys in WCW got booked in such a way where you didn't get to appreciate how truly badass they were. Like Scott Norton.
I mean, I think it depended on what you saw. There was a degree where you're sort of like, all right, these guys clearly aren't presented as important as a Randy Savage or a Roddy Piper, for example, or
even a Vincent.
Hey, no, that's the point, my friend. I will not allow that to stand. I'd say they were definitely presented as better than Vincent. But Nagata, I think, was quite young at that time in WCW. But he still had some
crazy.
Great
he looked
stuff.
He already looked like a grizzled veteran.
Yeah. He was probably in his early 20s, dude. And he I remember a banger that he had with Perry Saturn. There's a lot of really cool Nagata stuff, but he ended up becoming one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Last week was just like a Yuji Nagata love sesh. But yeah, absolutely tremendous, and so happy to see that done for Hechicero as well here. And now on to our next match, where
one last thing before we move on.
Yes, go on.
At the end of the match, our favorite WCW announcer Tony Schiavone put this over as the biggest match that Bryan Danielson has had in AEW. Now, I'm all for wrestling hyperbole, but this seems a bit much.
I mean, that brings me back to the Tony Schiavone that I have all the love in the world for. I think I watched a supercut of him, of his different calls over the years, of where he was like, the biggest night in professional wrestling. And he went on to say about 32 times.
Well, because it keeps topping itself, man. They keep topping him. Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm all with that. I feel like this is about as big as it gets. So why not?
100%. I get it. Like, I am 100% for wrestling hyperbole, but it's just always funny when you're like, really? The best
Hilarious.
night of the night ever in wrestling? Is that what you said? Okay.
The biggest night in the history of our sport.
I love you, Tony.
Never
He used to have me
change.
blocked on Twitter. Then when he came back to wrestling, he was like, I guess I gotta unblock all these fans.
What did you do to get Tony to block you?
I probably said something about butts and seats or something. I don't even think I said something that stupid. I probably just made a wrestling joke. And he was at one point in time so done with wrestling, he would like block anybody who referenced it.
So funny. It was the comeback story of Tony Schiavone through like MLW and then getting this opportunity and just running with it is just one of the most heartwarming things.
I love it, man, because honestly, his voice. I love WWE, but I was the WCW fan more
same.
than anything. So, yeah. So his voice is synonymous with wrestling for me.
For sure. I think to me it's like him and Mike Tenay, right there as like my two like favorite voices of WCW.
Agreed.
And now, are we ready for the following?
Let's sink our
match?
teeth in. Yeah.
Let's take a big old meaty bite out of a tremendous match that we fly over to Japan the following week for this one. So we're in Osaka here, at the former Osaka Bodymaker Coliseum. I think it's called the Edion Arena now. It's for the big New Japan New Beginnings show of the year, and this was just a battle of, I guess, if we're talking about like your sort of technician kind of wrestlers, just the absolute best of the best. I mean, I guess like the sort of the Dave Meltzer like Wrestling Observer Award for a long time. I think it was named after like Chris Benoit. Then it went over to Bryan Danielson, and now I think Zack Sabre Jr. has like won that technical wrestling award for like the last like forever. So I mean, I absolutely loved that previous match in AEW, and I think I even said like the other week when we were talking about this one coming up, I was like, how on earth can you follow that amazing match that they had at Wrestle Dream in Seattle in AEW? Like, how can you have a shot at topping that? I can't even imagine. But after rewatching it this afternoon, I think I can say I think they topped it. I officially think this match was even better than that match of the year candidate from last year, and I have no idea how that happens.
Because you got these two guys together and they're just making beautiful art. Yeah, man. When I watched the Wrestle Dream match, I knew, of course, it was going to be great, and it was stupendous. And then when he didn't shake the hand at the end of the match, I'm like, oh, yeah, this rematch is definitely going to have some stank on it, and they definitely came with it, man. They were not pulling any punches. I mean, they were probably a little bit, but it
didn't look like it.
Yeah, but it didn't really look like it. I just want to, me, I'm all about presentation. So a couple things I want to say out the gate is I love how the announcers are announcing and the music actually drops back and is tuned down for them to make that announce of the wrestler. Normally, in every other wrestling show, the announcer just has to yell over the music as loud as they can. And this was a nice presentation. They kind of laid back. Hey, let this guy speak. And then they turn the music back up. It was very pleasant.
I think the overall production that we see of New Japan in Japan, now that's an important degree of separation, because the production that they have on their American shows is some of the worst dog shit I've ever seen. But for their Japan stuff, it's like so much better. You watch like American wrestling in terms of even like the way that it's filmed, the camera work and the editing and things like that, and down to the little things like you're saying about turning the music down so that the announcer can have the center of interest. And I just think it makes it come across so big time, and just watching this between the hype video and then the entrances, it felt like you're watching something really special, you know?
100%. I always like the hype videos because even though I don't understand Japanese at this point, it still gets me amped because the production is amazing. They drop the videos that kind of tell story, and then the big emblazoned pictures of them with all the graphics are always fucking cool. Like WWE does some cool graphics, but they're always kind of cartoony looking in a way. These are just like sleek and fucking professional looking. And yeah, it's it feels like a sports presentation, but about wrestling. This stage show, not stage show, but a show.
Yeah, it's like they're presenting it in a similar manner to, if you ever watched any like Pride FC back in the day. It's like you're seeing the presentation of like a sporting contest, and I think that adds so much to people buying in and being like, you know what, this I'm ready to suspend my disbelief to enjoy this professional wrestling bout. And you watch a match like this, and I think this like may be one of the greatest matches of all time for doing just that, like suspending disbelief, because the work was so good and it was so intense and so like realistic and the energy of it, and the meanness, oh my gosh. But you watch this and you're like, this is the kind of wrestling that I would want to show a non-wrestling fan, to be like, this is like when you hear that bullshit of, like, oh, how do you like that when it's fake kind of thing? Like, I don't think anything does as good a job to communicate, like, no, like when you're in the vibe of it and you watch such a truly great professional wrestling match, like that all goes away and you just, I don't know, the magic of it, and I think this did such a great job of it, and it was just like such a, like the best way I can describe this match, it's like just a truly great, badass, hard-nosed, reactive professional wrestling match. And it almost like ruins all other wrestling like, when you watch it. Like, how do I go back to watching, I don't know, Billy Gunn after this?
Amazing choice. I said after I was done watching, I was like, I think I just watched the greatest match I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, so good, so intense. And while it was long, it was like almost like it couldn't be any shorter and tell the same story. You know what I mean?
And
like,
it kept you in every moment. Like, it was so fast paced. Like, because there was some similarities I was sort of drawing to having a similar feeling of watching like a top level like Billy Robinson kind of match, or like a Billy Robinson, Dory Funk Jr., Jack Briscoe, that kind of like real absolute top tier master reactive kind of style wrestlers. But this was so much faster pace, with a lot of Billy matches. And this is something I love about Billy matches, was they would like work something where it's like there's a guy trying to get out this hold and he's like trying to get out each. They get about 12 minutes out of this one hold kind of thing. But this was so fast paced where it's like just change. There's so much that happens in this match. We're not even going to be able to scratch the surface of talking about everything. There's so many quick, awesome little things.
I loved it so much. I had to stop at a point like, because I do commentary too. I was almost writing down what I would say on commentary,
like a play-by-play.
Yeah, to a degree I was, but yeah, there was so much going on. One thing I think a lot of people might have missed, though, I just don't want to forget. I saw Slapjack out there. That's a real big pickup. Former WWE superstar Slapjack out there with Zack Sabre Jr. Fucking A. No, I just love the fact that these guys. Again, with the presentation, TMDK all coming out together and not necessarily like you aren't feeling like these guys are definitely getting involved there. No, they're just part of this crew and they're out here for fucking emotional support and just supporting their bro. Yeah, exactly. It's rad. But I fucking love the slapjack gimmick, so seeing him back in New Japan is rad for him, but just I had to mention it.
It's so funny that you know him as that. Like, so that's
I know him from New Japan too.
But like that's Shane Haste, right?
Yes,
and that's
yes,
a dude where back in the day in like the Australian wrestling scene, like when I was like still wrestling, he was seen like there was no one better to me.
Yeah.
Like he would come in. I never actually got to wrestle him back in the day, but I was on like a lot of shows where I was in the same locker room as him, and he would be a dude where it would be like the locker room, you know, the curtain sellout, as they say. Like he was a dude that was like so far ahead, I feel, of like everyone else there. And then him and Mikey going on to Noah to have this amazing run as TMDK, like. It's just like I had like so much reverence for the dude, and it's just like so funny that like he went from that to slapjack.
Become a meme. He became a meme wrestler inadvertently, but better than the gimmick. I think they were gonna make him a Crocodile Dundee type character for a fucking minute there. I was like,
oh my god,
kiss of death.
Yeah, it's amazing he avoided that. But then the coolest thing was after that WWE run, where it seemed like he could have been one of those dudes where it's just like that whole ordeal, you know,
powered him on the industry altogether.
Yeah, and he just became kind of one of those like former WWE guys that just mails it in. Him and Mikey brought it right back. Like I remember that maybe the last title match that him and Mikey had against Aussie Open against Kyle and Davis on one of the last big New Japan shows. I want to say before they left for AEW, and I think that was as good as any TMDK match I've ever seen. So they definitely brought it back. So I'm hoping to see more for sure.
Yeah, riding along with Zack Sabre Jr. definitely going to keep the fucking spotlight on you. So that TMDK crew is a tough stable, man.
Yeah, really. And how cool is their music?
Oh yeah, that's the other good thing about New Japan. The music doesn't all sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
It all sounds cool. Where WWE at this point, there's once in a while there's a theme that is a standout, but pretty much they all suck shit.
Oh, funny you mentioned TMDK. Did you know this past week I became aware that they have a special collab beer that they have done with a really cool brewery out of Perth called Brucha Libre Brewing Co.
Oh my god, that's a great name.
So cool. And it is a sick can design, and it is just the idea of wrestling collabs for special beer releases, that's magical.
Immediately I'm like, how do I get Chris to send me one? But I imagine it would explode on its way over here.
The beer in question is called the TMDK Young Punks.
All right. Does it say what it is? Is it a Pilsner? Does it say Saison? Is it an IPA?
It's a Japanese rice lager. They note it as this is our own creation, a blend of the crisp and refreshing Japanese rice lager and Australia's own Pacific ale. So it's, I guess, a bit of a hybrid.
Oh, right on. Real quick, just for Perth, are you going to go to the show?
You will not, no.
They're in your town. You're not even, or not your town, but your country. You're not going to go visit W. How far is that from you?
Perth is away?
I know how big Australia is. I was just asking. How far is it?
I was like amazed that they've drawn as many people as they have. Frankly, it's a bit of a side note, but like Perth is like in the fucking middle of nowhere. It would probably be the equivalent of you traveling to like Miami. Like it's at least like a 6-hour flight to
oh, that's Miami's way longer than that.
Oh, okay. You have a large country too.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's not one of those things where like, you know what, WWE's made it into our country. Let's make the jaunt. No.
Not my cup of tea, friend.
I feel you.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, back to the good wrestling.
This is my cup of tea.
Indeed. Since we're not going to touch base on much, I just wanted to say one thing out the gate that I thought was really funny is even how serious this was. Zack Sabre Jr. is, as they say, rather cheeky. There was a point when Brian was kind of doing this stance where he was like letting his arms hang limp. So maybe Zach didn't know where he was going by any sort of muscle jerk movements. And so Zach started kind of doing the same thing back at him, but also doing wonky leg walking for a second. I was like, what a dick. Did you catch that? It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, there was a lot of like odd sort of little filling one another out kind of thing and like mirroring one another in that early part of it. And I thought that was like really cool.
Yeah, the early part was kind of like stages. There was like segments of where they kind of worked similar offense toward each other and, both found their own ways to evade. I found it very interesting how they structured this match.
I as well, like the escalation of it. I think watching more and more wrestling, seeing like a really well done organic escalation is probably one of my favorite notes of like a really good wrestling match. Like it's not just like, okay, we do this and now we do this spot and we do this, and it's like this, it's not this jammed together kind of like weird, this is the heat, this is the comeback, this, it's like this was so much more even flowing. And I think the reactive part of it was like a real cool deal. Like I had one of my dearest clients was we were chatting about this the other day, and he said he felt it was kind of like watching like freeform jazz. These kind of guys, in terms of like that like reactive and just like improvisational sort of element, and I don't think I could come up with a better way to put it than that. Like, and I love jazz. So I think I love this in the exact same way. So I definitely want to put over Richard on that one. That was absolutely a great call.
On Richard.
But I think that early part of it being that sort of just reactive in the moment, both guys working for an advantage, and it just it showed like such a next level skill of these dudes, to where I honestly don't think there's like anyone like they're just such a next level to like 99% of the wrestling scene today.
Yeah, one of the things that you're saying about reactive where they would have their little scraps and then they would break away and kind of look at each other. They weren't the overly dramatic standoffs that we see in almost every indie wrestling match these days. Where they stand and look at each other for a while with shock expression. They just kind of like got up and go, all right, I am well aware that you're good enough to do what you just did, so let's get back into it pretty quickly. Slight stare down for a moment, but I really appreciate
a little acknowledgement kind of thing of like, all right, let's, I think it was so good.
But without smirking, more like impressed in a way where like, I'm not going to even try to sell it with my face on how much that really impressed me.
It was like a game of one-upsmanship, and I think 100%. That was probably a big part of maybe the story of the first match. It was like a game of one-upsmanship, and then that continued into this one, and then it sort of like went from being a games of one-upsmanship to being just like a really violent, back and forth. But this early part, I think, where they're clearly both like respecting one another, and going for that advantage, and then like there was a great bit, I don't know if you remembered, when they sort of got into the ropes, and Zach was like underneath the ropes and Danielson was on top kind of thing, and then the referee kind of broke them up, and then Zach just did just like great kind of like come on, like begging him for more kind of thing.
It was even like before while the ref was actually telling him to break it up, Zach was just talking mad shit, and you didn't know if Brian was actually going to do a clean break or just stomp him. Yeah, that was, and the camera shot of it was fucking killer.
Dude, on rewatch, I was like, oh man, maybe that should have been the moment that I did the art off.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
Very cool. And then I think they went on to like this great like handwork, like you hear the hand fighting kind of like thing. And there was a great like little back and forth on that. And particularly one of the first things, because I watched this match with my buddy Brad, who's been on before, another friend Mitch, when we watched it the first time. That was the first thing where I audibly, like there was a bit where Danielson did this awesome like reverse wrist clutch takeover kind of thing. That was the bit where I audibly was like, that is so fucking cool.
Is that the one where then Zach answered back by doing like 2 of them as well?
I think so. Yeah. That was like just before Zach sort of comes in with this great like flying guillotine kind of thing. That sort of stage.
Yeah, he rolled through like quick and did 2 of them real quick. I was answering back. Also, I wanted to point out, because it's rather quiet in a lot of this stuff, when the fans react big, you can definitely notice it. But you can also notice when one man tries to start a chant all by himself and no one joins along with him. Because there's this one guy, let's go, Zach. Let's go, Zach. And like kept going and no one joined him.
There was definitely, it felt like, I don't know, like some British fans in the house that were over from the UK, but it continued towards the end where they were trying to get like a bloody fight forever chant going. And...
Yeah, that was hilarious. I was like, what? Oh, man.
Oh, dear.
There was a rad part where they were kind of almost locked together, both their legs, and they kept on trying to drape each other, or drape their ankle, the armpit, the knee over their ankle, and both jockeying position. And it was like so crazy watching these 2 masters just trying to grab each other's limbs and pull them in different directions and drape over like this. And it didn't feel at all overly planned out. Like you were saying, the freeform jazz thing, it's like they're just going for it, and they're both good grapplers. So they probably just know. How much of this do you think they actually were legitimately jockeying for position and not a total work? I mean, they definitely know what they're doing, but do you think there was ever any point where they're like, all right, for this point, we'll grapple and see what fucking goes down?
I think for sure. I think it was probably very similar to back in the day in like your classic kind of shoot style wrestling, when you'd like see that in Japan of like the absolute top tier dudes in like UWFI or like the first UWF, where it's like you sort of have a bit of a loose framework where they clearly would know what their finish is, and maybe some key things of like what they might do. But I have no idea about this for a fact, but I would estimate probably like 80% of this was just kind of like reactive, spur of the moment. And these guys are good enough to do that. That's what I mean by these guys being better than like 99% of wrestlers. Because I mean, that's like, I think, a lost art of it, that reactive ability to just wrestle and react to one another, and like the body movements and body mechanics and like, oh, you do this, I'm going to do this kind of thing. A lot of that, I think, doesn't really exist anymore. So I think the fact that these guys can do that in such an amazing manner is just such a compliment to them. And I hope that maybe more guys get excited by this and are like, you know what, I'm going to put in the work to get to I mean, I don't think it's potentially...
I'm going to get on their level.
That might be a bit of a lofty goal, but, at least to sort of have an ideal to work towards. I would be very happy if in the future we have more guys watch this and be like, that to me is where I want to like aim, compared to, I feel like we've had a generation that's been inspired more by dudes like Ricochet, for example.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I am glad there are like other guys who like carry on that art form that get a nice following, like Daniel Makabe. He does a similar format of wrestling, and there's Robert Martyr. He's pretty dope. So there's definitely guys out there, few and far between, and a lot of those guys who do the wrestling gimmick don't bring a lot of the charisma. So not a lot of people sink their teeth in a boring guy whose wrestling gimmick is wrestling, unfortunately. But if you can do that shit, and also you got a bit of a personality, that can gravitate a lot of people toward you, especially people who like the realism in wrestling.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that while watching this match, because while watching this incredibly high level of wrestling skill, a big thing that stood out to me was like the absolute like amazing cocky charisma of Zach while watching this.
Oh yeah, swagger. His little swagger when he like walks away from things or walks around the ring, like okay.
So good. I mean, and Danielson too is like a very charismatic dude. He's in no way like a boring kind of like no personality guy, but
He could have been. He used to be saddled with that back in the day, but he definitely back in the early ROH showed he had a ton of personality.
Yeah, I think the only ever people that said that Danielson were boring were those kind of trolls that never actually really watched a Danielson match. Because I don't think, even like when you watch his early ROH stuff, dude had like a magnetic charisma like the whole way through. Yep. But yeah, Zach especially, I think he reminded me a lot of. You ever watched much Rollerball Rocco, Mark Rocco?
I did not, unfortunately.
Oh, well, I would highly recommend that. But in terms of being a dude who just had an amazing, like, cocky heel kind of, like, charisma that, again, gets you, like, really invested. Just one of the absolute best in-ring wrestlers that you ever would see. So... big compliment to Zach there in comparing him to Mark Rocco, the original Black Tiger, might I add.
Oh my, I am familiar with that particular detail. Well, maybe you have to find an awesome match of his and we'll do some art and we'll watch it for the pod.
Oh, I think that would be a great idea. I'm a big fan of World of Sport, but this match in particular brought me back to a lot of that like European World of Sport, Lancashire style of wrestling. Like that was probably maybe the closest thing that I could say was like that was the style of match that this was. And I think that as well is what we were talking about with the escalation too, where like that's starting out of really just kind of like, all right, let's feel one another out, try for to get on the advantage, and then it just like escalating to then getting again from that level to just like a mean level of violence and just some insanely great strikes and just some bloody great meaty wrestling.
Oh yeah, I think the kind of transition point where it got more nasty was that point where Brian Danielson whipped Zach's ankle into the bottom rope, like kind of like snapmared him with his arm.
Yeah,
and that fucked Zach up for a minute. Like the referee almost looked like, do we need to stop this thing? And yeah, he sold that ankle injury for quite a while, and that's when he was like, come back, okay. This is not just grappling, huh? We're gonna fuck each other up. Let's do this.
He's working over of the legs. That really stood out to me on my rewatch of this match. Like I obviously gets into it, and the working of the legs is a key part of the match later on that stands out to you. But the early bit where he would sort of do things to kind of like target the knees and like you're saying the ankle, I thought were like really cool and stood out to me on rewatch. Like there was a great bit where, and this sort of gets into more of sort of the story of the match, I guess, for all of our story wrestling people, of the bit where he has Zach in like ready to get him up for the Romero special, and he's like trying to goad him into grabbing the ropes kind of thing. And he's like standing on the knees and he's saying, get the ropes. And he's like, no. And then he does the classic,
come on, Brian.
the classic Danielson, double stomp of the knees. And then pretty much from that point on, I thought Danielson's like escalating targeting of the leg and the knee was just masterful stuff.
Beautiful. Just two artists working together. Oh man, I'm trying to review my notes. I have written down so much stuff here. Well, I think we might have skipped ahead on this part, but there was a rad part where Zach got kind of Irish whipped into the turnbuckle, but he like bounced off and came back with like a choke. Where he was like draped on the body. That was so cool.
That was the flying guillotine that I was was one of the coolest. Like fucking going into a guillotine.
I'm glad that we both shared the same thing. We both the same note. The guillotine was rad.
That happens so often when we talk about these matches, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed. Did you get the part where Danielson was got him in the Muda lock and he bridged back over and then Zach just snatched him and so the camera got close on the on both of them, and that was just great. Like they were both like hurting each other, but and didn't want to let go, but at the same time they were both suffering. It's one of those awesome wrestling moments where we're both hurting each other to get the goal of winning, but we're suffering to get that goal.
That was definitely one of the close ones that was a contender for me picking as the visual moment of the match. I remember when I first watched it, I was like, oh, remember that timestamp, because that is a really cool visual. And I think really cool as well, because one of those things where there's some moves and submissions where you think, like, why doesn't the guy just do this? And pretty much for all of them, that's what happened here.
Yeah, that's actually a good call, where this is the obvious escape opportunity. Why doesn't anyone... Oh, Zack Sabre Jr. or Bryan Danielson will take those advantages. After that is when they kind of both bail out and like step away and kind of that was one of the dramatic standoffs where they're both kind of like, okay, this is escalating. Things are getting maybe a little out of hand, and we're okay with that.
It was almost like, getting back to those World of Sport style matches, you'd have that where because they'd always have the rounds. So the British rounds kind of system. So I can't remember, it was like 2 minutes or 5 minute rounds for a lot of these matches, but it would basically be that, like it would escalate, and then you'd be like, all right guys, now we're gonna have a little breather, and the guys would walk away from one another and kind of like do a little nod or a little acknowledgement or a little like, oh, I'm gonna bloody get you next time, kind of thing. And that was kind of the vibe that I got here. And this is when the leg work is really taken off, and you're noticing Zack kind of like acknowledging it a bit more, which I think his selling was so good and so next level. There was a particular moment when there was an exchange where Zack finishes it up by hitting Danielson with an incredible like flash drop kick to the head and neck. That was just one of the coolest, like most like snappy, impactful drop kicks that I ever did see. And then Danielson goes down, and then Zack is like pops up, and you think he's going to be on the advantage, but he goes straight back to like selling the knee, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, it almost felt like the story was a tad bit that Zack was shocked on how much Bryan at points was out wrestling him, even though it was so evenly matched. It felt like Zack Sabre Jr. felt like he should have had more of an advantage, and I felt that. Do you feel like Bryan maybe has a bit more stamina, because he didn't seem nearly as winded as Zack in the later stages of this particular match?
I was impressed by both. Like I was saying before about like the
pacing, long match,
and like how much it was just like all action, all like so much movement. I was just thinking like the amount of gas that both of these dudes have in their tank was like, I could not imagine that. I definitely blew up my my share of times when I was back in the ring back in the day. But man, I was just so impressed at the pace that these guys were able to keep up for. I mean, how long did this match actually go?
Over 40, I think.
Whoa, didn't feel like it.
No, it was fun the whole time. That's like I enjoyed it so much is why I wrote so much down. Speaking of how quickly they were doing exchanges, when they were both had each other in like the straitjacket, and they both went for bridges to get out of it, like that's bananas.
I loved that spot. There was when it sort of got to that wrestling and counter holds kind of thing. I was just so happy, and just I don't know, I just got so much enjoyment out of it. Like there was, I think the bit that I actually ended up picking for the illustration was there was a bit where Zack gets him in a cobra twist, I think, to start with. And that was cool as fuck, and the crowd was like really getting into that, because the history of the cobra twist in like Japanese wrestling, and the commentators were putting it over big as well. And then next level, he like transitions into the octopus hold, and man, I don't even know, how he did it or what it was, whether it was the timing or what, but I just remember thinking that was like one of the coolest things. And then the actual visual of when it like really zoomed in, and this is again getting back to that really like how great the editing and the camera work is, to really have those moments where it takes you in and focuses on like Danielson's expression when he's got this like octopus hold on him, and Zach's leg is like, really like jamming up and like wrinkling like half of his like face, and it just looks so uncomfortable. And I think maybe that's again what gets back to this sort of like great level of the suspension of disbelief of the match, because a lot of submission work that you're taught in wrestling school, it's stuff that's like not uncomfortable to be in, because like you're working together with your partner. You don't want to hurt your brother or whatever. Like,
yeah, every once in a while, like when I watch wrestling, I'm like, oh no, he's bending his leg in the way it's supposed to go.
Exactly. But this, like, so much of this looked really gnarly and like unpleasant to be in, and I think that's what makes it.
What is the Cobra twist? Is that the weird dragon through leg wick, or is that the neck twisting thing?
It sort of looks a bit like an abdominal stretch, where he sort of has like the leg twisted around the other guy's leg, and then he's like wrapped around his body kind of thing.
I got it confused with octopus. That's when he transitioned into octopus.
Yeah, and then he went into the octopus, which is sort of the they call it like the flying octopus, because like neither of the guy who's doing its feet are touching the ground kind of thing.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. There was a moment where Danielson said the thing. He told the ref he had till 5.
I was such a mark for that in ROH back in the day, dude.
He said it so casually on this one. He goes, I have till 5.
I don't know whether I have till 5 referee or he's going to get his fucking head kicked in are my favorite, but they're both right there.
Yeah. Tremendous ones. Yeah, dude, like my notes are so crazy because you couldn't even imagine these are series of moves. Like after the I have till 5, I have. All right, then we go surfboard, dragon sleeper, 2 snapmares. Zach lifts Danielson up waist high, slams him down, does the neck ringer. Then a single leg. Zach fights out. Another single leg. Zach fights out. And then another neck clinch by Zach. Oh my gosh. It's just so much that occurred. If you haven't seen this match, and you are a wrestling fan who likes the grappling base, or even if you don't, fucking A, go check this out. It's nuts.
So good. Like, there's sometimes where you just say something's so good for so long, it's like you don't even have words to like try to exclaim. Like, no, it was like really, really good, dude.
Yeah. Like, this would just be me. If I really went all out how much I love this match and read everything I wrote, it would be just me, like, doing play-by-play. Like, that I loved every second of this shit.
Yeah. The moment, I tried to restrict myself a little bit, like, try to refine it down to the things that I thought had sort of a real significance. And maybe that was probably easier doing it on rewatch, because I sort of remembered a bit of the first time. But like one of the other things that I thought was a really good nod to the first match was them going back to that iconic face-to-face knee bar off when they both had other dudes like knee grapevine, and then they get into the strike. And I think that was where the strikes really like started, and that what we're talking about, that real like grisly violence kind of like element of it, where they really start like laying their shit in, and they just start kicking one another in the face. It's just alternating, and it was so awesome.
There was a dope moment where they did a standing switch, and Danielson kicked backwards into the knee of Zack Sabre Jr., and the reaction of Zach was more, instead of just saying, ow, that hurt, and I'm gonna go cry in the corner, he actually walked to the corner like, motherfucker, and then he came out and just started beating the fuck out of him. You're like so many European uppercuts, and then they started exchanging. Yeah, nasty.
I think those, like, how snappy and impactful, like, those Euros and all the different strikes that were going on at that point, that really reminded me of what I was saying before, that sort of, like, escalation of, like, the proper, like, British style, like, the classic British style of wrestling, of your dudes like a Rollerball Rocco or, like, a Jimmy Breaks or any of those, like, real masters. But, like, the slaps, man, that was, I think, the moment where I was like, I think all really, great matches, there's something about slaps that just always wins me over. And this almost felt like very low-key versus Kenta-esque in, like, the both speed but also, like, the sort of evasion, and then catches him with one, and so great.
I loved it. Yeah, I can't say enough about this match.
Ending in that rad head kick by Danielson. But did you notice did you have any notes on that awesome Michinoku driver that Zack catches him with?
Hell yeah. Fucking, it was a snap. Yeah, that series was, it was after they did the super belly to the back suplex. And then Brian was dropping those elbows, and then they go to the cat mutilation. Zack rolls to get out of it. Then he does the release German. Then he ducks a kick, and then he hits him with that Michinoku driver. And it was such a good falsie because the fans went bananas.
That was maybe the greatest Michinoku driver I've ever seen. Like, just the whole timing of it.
One fluid movement, too. It wasn't like where sometimes people pick it up, stop a moment, and snap it. He just like, all right, we're going up and under. Kind of like an awful waffle, but reversed.
It was so dynamic and explosive. It was like he caught him, like, midair, and then they both came down on the mat at the same time. So amazing. So great.
Yep.
Yeah, the forearm strikes from when Danielson was in Zack Sabre Jr.'s guard, where it looked like he was on the verge of, like, knocking him out, and, like, he was going to win the match from, like, knockout. That was very kind of had the energy of, like, these shoot style kind of like UWFI, like Takada, like classic kind of.
Yeah, ref was right on that too, like totally perfectly. Is like, so we quitting? Are you're done? What? That's Zack. Can you continue? Yeah, it was great.
It really spoke to me as well because I don't know if you noticed when Danielson was in WWE. He definitely was working their house style, like these. It was quite sad, from like a big Danielson fan from back in the day of like seeing a guy like throwing these strikes that look like they couldn't break an egg kind of deal. But I guess when you're in that environment, that's what you do. So it's not on him, he's just doing what I guess they're supposed to do. But It was so great to see Danielson back in his like pure badass, mean motherfucker, top flight form of just laying in these fucking forearms, looking like he was about to kill the dude. So good.
Forearms, his elbows, like literally trying to kick through people's sternums. Damn it, Eddie Guerrero, you might lose your spot, buddy.
This reminded me of the Danielson from. Do you ever see that match with him and Roddy against the Bucks from back in the day, where they just beat the absolute fuck out of them in PWG?
I do recall that. I think I have that one.
Yeah, but that was the true asshole Danielson that we got here. Oh man, there's a like right near the end there was like a roll up exchange sequence that was very much along the lines of those like British masters of your like Billy Robinson kind of stuff, and it was just one of the coolest things I have ever seen in my life. I just had hot damn written down in it, all caps.
I have at some point here both men are dead. Because there was at one point where they looked like they were all out and they were not going to get back up.
And then the match ends in and I remember back in the day this used to get like heat from like your old-timey workers of complaining of doing too much and then ending on a fucking roll-up. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like he's hitting him with the kryptonite crunch and the reverse Frankensteiner and the Canadian destroyer, and then he beats him with a small package. But I never had a problem with that, you know, because like a well done
Wrestling move.
a well done pin, isn't that like as good as it gets in terms of getting a guy's shoulder down?
It's a wrestling move, right? You get the guy rolled up onto his back. Makes sense to me. And done right, when they're really, really quick and sudden, they're really, really good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, yeah. This one was like a drawn out sequence and then into that. But I felt it was very fitting to a match where the guys literally pulled out all the stops. And what was the last thing to get it done? A roll up.
Yeah, and like a really well done roll up that Zach just put his everything into. I think there's little that's better than that of just like catching a dude in, and I guess the whole thing of this games of one-upsmanship that this was, he caught him and won the game of one-upsmanship.
And there was no need for anybody tapping out in this situation, so both guys, keep that. Oh wait, what was the finish of the last match? I fucking forget.
I think the first one ended in a tap out.
In a tap out? Well, then let's go record over this part. Let's start over. I made a point that was not good.
Editor's note, it actually ended with 2 Bisaku knees, so I was quite wrong here. Sorry, Jeremy.
But I still like that this ended up in a roll-up. Like, there's no need for... Are one of these guys going to pick each other up and powerbomb each other? Hey,
yeah. Are we getting like a power bomb off the top rope or like some big super kick or something? No, I think this was really appropriate.
And this match hardly had any crazy stuff. Like they went outside once, and like the biggest, craziest move was a super belly to the back, and that still was rad. And yeah, I thought it was a beautiful finish, and I love that Zach actually shook the motherfucker's hand this time. At first, it looked like he wasn't going to, but he extended the hand, and then Danielson, ironically enough, wasn't going to shake his hand this time. That bastard.
I thought that was so perfect the way it's like initially he had that he's like, no, I can't do that, and then like it was just so believable, like the way he was kind of like, you know what, fuck, this kills me, but yeah, all right, fucking good job, man, good job.
I wrote down jokingly, code of honor.
Code of honor has been upheld.
Yes.
Jimmy Bauer would be happy.
Oh, yes. When I realized that Gabe was the announcer and was 2 different people at points, that really, really amused me.
I still don't know why he had 2 kayfabe names.
Yeah, it's like, apparently everyone. I'm pretty sure I know what happened. People probably like hated one of the characters. He's like, well, I'll just be the same play-by-play guy, and I'll just have a different name, and maybe it'll work. No, it did not.
Oh man, that's really getting back to your classic ROH nostalgia there. We're talking about the commentary skills of Jimmy Bauer. Oh man, I love nerding out about wrestling.
Indeed. It's always a joy to come and be a part of the shenanigans and maybe bringing more silliness along with me. So thanks for having me.
I think our various ADD sidebars are just unmatched. I didn't think I could talk to anyone where I have the amount of complete, like, all right, let's talk about Tony Schiavone's commentary in WCW for 10 minutes.
Hopefully somebody enjoys it besides us. But honestly, even if it's just an outlet to chat with you, I'm fine with it.
I really enjoy our chats, man. So I always appreciate you coming on, and it definitely is just a lot of fun for me, to be honest.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Same.
I feel like this one, I assume now that we're 1-1, we're heading for potentially a rematch down the road. I thought I heard some scuttlebutt about that of the first one was in AEW, second one was in New Japan, so maybe the third one I heard is somehow going to be on neutral territory. I don't know what that is. Is that maybe going to be the next Forbidden Door? I'm not sure, but I'm here for it.
Yep, me too.
again, I have no earthly idea how you follow this, but they managed to follow the first one with this, so at this point, anytime they're gonna like touch one another in ring, I'm here for it.
I am gonna go into it thinking that it couldn't possibly compete with this one. That way, my expectations are low. That way, when it does, I can be blown away. So,
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, I'm really working it.
Yeah,
If you play it
smart.
from both sides, you can't be disappointed. You know what I mean?
Smart man. So can I, from what you've said, sounds like you're pretty steadfast. This one is officially your favorite of the last two.
I was strong enough to say this may be my favorite match of all time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, it's
And
tremendous.
that knocking Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc out of the top spot. I think it's
Damn,
a hard one. 'Cause
son.
you know me, man. I don't like to do definitive favorites because there's so much variety, and it'd be weird to discredit anything else I like. But that damn Halloween Havoc match is something special. This thing was something special. So
Mhm.
weighs heavy on me.
You
Weighs
know,
heavy.
I've been saving that Ray Eddie rewatch. 'Cause I think I probably haven't seen that match in at least 5 years, maybe more. But I've been saving that because I'm like, I half feel whenever I happen to watch it, no matter what, it's going to end up being my match of the week. So I'll have to be careful here.
Yeah.
But man, thank you again for coming on the show. Can I throw you over for some plug skis for you, my friend?
Sure. You can follow me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, FetLife. No. Anyway, I'm at Jaims Vanderbeek on the majority of those sites. One of them I'm not on, so it's like 4 truths and a lie. And if you want to catch me on IWTV, our next show for SOS Pro Wrestling is entitled When Nature Calls, and it's on March the 8th at 8 p.m. Or if you're a local yokel to Washington State, which likely you're not, you can join us in person at Edison Square in Tacoma. But yeah, When Nature Calls, please take a peek, enjoy.
There's another excellent name. Between worker names, show names, this company sounds like it's got all of the things.
Oh man,
Is that a throwback to Ace Ventura?
I believe it may have something to do with that, indeed. I just want to put over our tag team champions' names. They're the Big Cat, Scott Henson, and Sarian Softpaws. These men are half man, half cat, and they have tails. And you know what? Sometimes these dastardly heels attack the tails and lock them in submission holds, and that's mean. But it's also hilarious.
Outrageous. And just
Okay.
for our listeners at home, I can confirm that the 1995 film Ace Ventura had a subtitle of When Nature Calls.
Yep.
So
I saw that one in the theaters. I'm an old son of a bitch.
I have great memories of that movie, but do you know what its current Rotten Tomato rating is? A mere 21%. Now that is outrageous.
For shame. For shame.
At the same time, I have heard that on rewatch it has maybe some things that didn't age very well, so perhaps that's part of it as well. I don't know. But we're not here to talk about Ace Ventura. We're here to finally end this epic show.
Here's now we talk about 30 minutes of Ace Ventura.
I greatly appreciate everyone that has stood through this episode and lasted all the way. That's a next level of staying power that I very much appreciate. But if you dig this show, please tell a friend about it. Please give a little old reviewski on the iTunes. Just keep on tuning in, and I delighted to keep this going. I do also sometimes receive messages from people about the show. So if you have something that rang a bell, for you when you're listening, bloody send me a message on Instagram, dude, or Twitter or whatever. I get back to everything, and obviously you know that I really dig and love this stuff, so I'm always up for a chat. But yeah, at Chris Things on the Twitter, at Chris Things on the Instagram. Be able to keep up with all the show updates on there. Also be able to see a bunch of my art things that I post on there. christhings.com.au is the place where you can go to learn a little bit more about that art and potentially purchase a print ski of it. Purchase a little old, art print, maybe an original, maybe a t-shirt. Yeah, might have a new one of those coming in the near future. Have to keep an eye out there. Big thank you as well to the great guys at Social Suplex for giving me the platform to do this cool little show of ours. You can check out socialsuplex.com, and there's actually a bunch of other cool wrestling podcasts on there for you to check out too. But yeah, I think that's about it for this week. But I'm having a lot of fun doing this little old show, so let's keep it going, guys. I appreciate you all. Do you have anything else to add, my friend?
You know what? You put it out so beautifully, and I think there might have been a little delay. So, no, I have nothing else to add. Thanks for listening, everybody.
What a great little. How do you end these things? You know. I think we're there. I think we just end it now.
Cut it off. Cut
it.
Bye.
Do the hammerlock. I do the hammerlock. Do the hammerlock, you turkey necks. Yeah, do the hammerlock. I do the hammerlock. Everybody's doing it.
Oh dear, that was fun, man.
Yeah, that was a good time.